The night rain poured down, as if it wanted to drown everything, casting a heavy gloom over the villa. Yellow light spilled out from the room where Izaiah stood still, motionless like a statue. The space around him seemed suffocated by the presence of Luke Hawthorne, who had just appeared like a nightmare stepping out of a past Izaiah had never known. No more words were needed. The truth that had just been revealed was enough to shatter the entire world Izaiah had believed in. The first feeling was not pain, but emptiness. An endless void opened in his mind, where every memory became blurred and questionable. Moments that once felt vivid now seemed like mismatched pieces, rearranged into something unrecognizable. Izaiah tried to find something solid to hold onto, a point of stability, but the harder he tried, the more everything slipped away. Then the anger began to rise. It didn't come all at once. It spread slowly, like a crack in the earth, widening into a vast abyss. Izaiah clenched his fists, nails digging into his skin without feeling any pain. All that remained was betrayal, a cold sensation seeping into every thought, every breath. If what had just been revealed was true, then it meant his entire life had been a performance. The people he trusted, the eyes that once looked at him with care, the gestures that seemed sincere, everything could have been a lie. There was nothing more terrifying than realizing you had never truly understood anyone, not even yourself. Across from him, Luke stood still, but his eyes were restless. He was no stranger to the cruelty of truth, but facing its consequences was another matter. What he had brought was not just a secret, it was a bomb powerful enough to destroy everything around them. And he knew it. For a brief moment, a thought crossed Luke's mind. Should he stop? Should he withhold part of the truth? But the thought was quickly crushed. The past did not allow him to retreat. Everything that had happened, everything that had been buried, had led to this moment. He was not the only one carrying the burden of truth, and he had no intention of bearing it alone any longer. Izaiah's anger exploded. It was no longer vague, it became a raging storm, destroying what little control remained. Objects nearby were hurled away, the sharp sounds of shattering echoing through the enclosed space. But even that destruction was not enough to release the emotions surging inside him. The more he tried to let it out, the stronger it grew, as if feeding on his own despair. Deep down, a part of Izaiah still wanted to deny everything, to believe this was manipulation, some kind of scheme meant to shake him. But the pieces were falling into place in a terrifying way. Small details once overlooked, unexplainable feelings now, they all made sense. And that made the truth impossible to reject. The betrayal did not come only from others, it also came from himself. He realized there had been signs, moments he had chosen to ignore. He had believed in the version of reality he wanted, instead of facing his doubts. And now, the price was the collapse of his entire world. Luke neither stepped closer nor walked away. He stood there, a silent witness to the destruction he had caused. But inside, he was far from calm. Revealing the truth did not bring the relief he had imagined. Instead, it left behind another kind of emptiness, a loss he could not name. Because the truth did not only destroy Izaiah, it destroyed what remained within Luke as well. His motives were not simply honesty. They were built on resentment, on years of suppression, on the feeling of being deprived. He had waited for this moment not just to speak the truth, but to witness its aftermath. A part of him wanted to see Izaiah break, to prove that no one could stand firm in the face of that truth. But when it actually happened, there was no sense of victory, only chaos. Izaiah gradually stopped not because the anger had faded, but because it had passed the threshold of eruption. It transformed into something deeper, more dangerous, a deadly coldness. His gaze no longer wavered, no longer held confusion. It became sharp, as if piercing through everything. In that moment, a decision began to form. Not forgiveness, not acceptance, but something else, something darker. When trust is completely shattered, people are no longer bound by their old principles. The limits that once existed lose their meaning, and that is what made the situation dangerous. Izaiah was no longer the person he had been just minutes before. Something had changed irreversibly. Luke saw it. He recognized the shift in those eyes, and for the first time, a real sense of unease crept in. What he had unleashed might spiral beyond control. Truth does not always lead to liberation. Sometimes it creates new monsters. And right now, Izaiah stood on that edge. Outside, the rain kept falling, as if trying to wash everything away. But inside the room, everything had changed forever. There was no turning back, no way to repair what had been broken. Only choices remained, and every choice would come with a price.